Alright YouTube, it's time for another powerstroke video. It's Saturday, August 11th. And as you can see, we got a little problem here. This is the fuel sending unit from the rear tank. I've disassembled it all. Got the actual sending unit itself off of the line and plate assembly here, whatever you want to call it. And what's going on here is I went ahead and fixed the seals in, not this line but the other one. This one's 3/8. The one that was leaking is the 5/16. And the rubber seals were leaking, and I managed to get those off with the tool I'd bought. I was wanting to show all that, but I come into some other troubles. I fixed the seals. Seals quit leaking, and then this line, here's part of it, started leaking right about here. As you can see, it's rusted. And I've been kind of wasting my time last night and part of the day trying to do some soldering. What I did was I cut it off right about here at first, and then I made me a sleeve and tried soldering it, but this metal is just too pitted. The solder don't want to stick. It's been rusted. It's got to be clean metal. I did play around with some soldering, made a sleeve on some new line, and actually that worked good. And you can do that with metal lines if you use the metal type solder and just a propane torch, but you got to have good steel to do it. Working on old pitted steel, you're not going to get a good solder. So that was kind of a waste of time, but it's worth a try. What I decided to do is bend me up a new line. Of course, that old one went up over like that. And I'm going to attempt to MIG weld to this. And let me tell you why I'm going through so much trouble. You're thinking, why don't you just buy a new one? Well, first of all, I have searched for hours on the internet. I could probably go to the dealer and get one. But I searched for hours on the internet and could not find one for the rear tank. And I did find a front one, which this one's okay. The gauge reads a little funny, but it might be just the solenoid needs to be cleaned off. But you can get just the solenoid for about 75 bucks, I think. But I did find a front one. The whole assembly is $318. Same guy on eBay that I got my oil cooler or oil filter adapter from. But he wants 318 bucks for that thing, and everybody else is about the same. So I'm going to make an attempt to fix this. I'm going to try to MIG weld it on there. This metal is a little pitted here too. I don't think I had much luck trying to solder that, so I'm going to see if I can't MIG weld it and make it airtight. But I cut it off flush. Of course, all the line that goes down in the tank is like new because the diesel fuel protected it from rusting. But this out here, that's in bad shape. I'm going to replace this one too. But I'm going to bend up a new line and we'll see how that works out. I'll keep you updated on that. Okay YouTube, it's Sunday morning now. Little change of plans. The welding did not work out very well. I could not get it to seal airtight. Could be my welding skills, could also be this old metal. It just didn't want to weld right. So I'm going to try one more thing, and I may have to bite the bullet and go to the dealer. Much as I hate to get that much for this. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm not a super tightwad, but when things are just ridiculously overpriced, I try my best to avoid giving those people that much money. Anyway, okay, I made another sleeve. I bent me up a new line, and you can see I got some pipe threads on there. I have a 1/8 inch pipe die which I threaded onto this sleeve, which I made. I made this sleeve out of a piece of 3/8, and you drilled it out for 5/16, which slides right over my 5/16 fill line. And this is the return line, by the way, and it goes on that side. What I'm planning to do is I'm going to clamp this down in my mill, get me a drill, the right size drill for an 1/8 inch pipe tap. And I'm going to drill down in here to where it goes through. See if I can get that off one-handed without knocking everything down. To where it goes through there and starts to cut into that line. As you can see, it's attached by that bracket too, so it won't fall off. And once I drill through there, I'm going to tap it and then just run my fitting down in there, which is opened up, and hopefully it will go over top the existing line, which is still good, from the bottom down of the fuel sending unit. And I will probably do a little solder there to make it a little airtight. Actually, that does not have to be airtight because that's all in the tank anyway. And this is a return line, and it's under some pressure. See, my camera's attached to the charger right now. Battery's low, and it's under pressure because this goes on the end of the line. It's not under a lot of pressure. After so much pressure gets built up in the line, this will kind of releases it. I'm pretty sure that's how it's supposed to work. So it's not going to hurt if that is not 100% sealed. But what does matter is when I solder my line into my fitting here. And as long as I have new, clean lines, I'm pretty sure I can solder that okay. And we'll do the 3/8 the same way, except make it out of some 1/2 inch that I bought over there. Anyway, we're going to see how that works out. If this doesn't work, I'm just out of luck on fixing this old one, and I'm going to have to buy a new one. Well, if I can get one. Then again, I may have to make the entire line from there on up, make it all one piece, and figure out a way to fit that in there. Okay, stay tuned. We're going to see what we can do with this thing. Okay, YouTube, we made a little more progress. The only thing left is clean everything up and attempt to solder it again. There's pretty much what I come up with. As you can see, I made my own fittings with a pipe thread on it. I drilled this out until it broke the fuel line loose from the plate, and I drilled them out to a tap drill size. The small one, the 5/16 line, I used an 1/8 inch pipe thread. Left hand, bigger 3/8, I used a 1/4 inch. They're straight pipe thread. And to make the fittings on the 1/4 inch, the bigger one, I just used a piece of a 1/2 inch, wherever it is. It's over in my chop saw. Used a piece of this 1/2 inch tubing. Ran a pipe thread die over it, and I also had another threading die for the 1/8 inch, smaller one. And of course, when I made my fittings, I had to open it up. I had a reamer for the 3/8 line, and that's a perfect fit. The 3/8 fits in there really good. And in the smaller 5/16, it's a little bit of an easier, but it's a slip fit. And so what I gotta do is take this back apart, screw them fittings out, and clean them up really well. Sand my lines and stuff. Put some flux in there, and we'll solder this side first. Let that set up, and then we'll attempt to solder these. And I don't really have to worry about it leaking in the plate. The pipe thread should seal that up, hopefully. And I get that warm, I'll probably put a little bit of a bead of solder around there. We'll see how that works. I'm not an expert at soldering and welding and stuff. Probably if I was a better welder, the idea of welding them up would have worked too with the MIG welder, but then again, maybe not. Like I said, it could be that old steel too. It's hard to get a MIG welder adjusted. A guy that's really good at TIG welding could have done that. I don't have a TIG welder, and I don't have a lot of experience with it. It's something I want to do later on. Let me get this apart, clean it up, and I'll show you a little bit about how this went together when I put those fittings back in. Stay tuned. Okay, YouTube, I think I finally got it. Been wrestling with this thing all week, so this is probably about all I'm going to do this weekend on this thing, or all weekend. I was wrestling with it all weekend is what I meant to say. I know it's a sloppy looking soldering job, but I think it'll work. I didn't really have to put this solder around here. I just tried it anyway for a little bit of insurance. Those pipe threads should seal that up just fine. But yeah, and I won't really know until I get my seals in. I think I mentioned before, I still need to order some Vitan 3/8 seals for this. If I didn't, it's what you got to have in it, Vitan seals. I ordered a bag of 50 for the 5/16 line and put them in. Find them on eBay. All you do is get your dimensions. Here's one for the 3/8, I believe. It's a 3/8 ID by 9/16 outside diameter, inside diameter ID is inside diameter, of course, and 3/32 is the thickness or diameter of the actual seal. And when you get those dimensions, and you can find them seals on eBay and several other websites that sell just O-ring seals. But yeah, I pumped some air into it, put my finger tight over the other end. I sprayed a little bit of window cleaner on it and checked for bubbles. That's what I was doing when I tried to MIG weld it, which didn't work very well. I kept getting leaks. But I think this is going to work. We'll see. Like I said, it's some sloppy looking soldering there, but what can you do? You know, it's old dirty metal. You can only do so well with it. I'm not sure how steel, and it seems like it's holding pretty darn tight. So we're gonna wait for our seals to come in. Hopefully it'll be in Monday with Maul and try this out. There's other things I could be doing, but to be honest with you, I kind of feel like I need a break, even though I didn't really get that much accomplished this weekend. This thing was a little aggravating. Like I said, it doesn't look that great, but I haven't painted it yet. I'll probably go ahead and paint it before I'm done and show you what it looks like. I did accidentally touch my wire with a cutoff wheel while I was working on it, but a little liquid tape will take care of that. We'll paint this thing up, and that'll make it look a lot better, and we'll see how it works. Now, one more thing I was going to mention. Yeah, these right here, you got these stops. I could add those on there, but I don't really think it's necessary. That's just to keep you from pushing the line on too far. We'll see how that works out. I may end up doing that. I don't know. Now that one's locked up. That's how easy they lock in. That one's locked in there now. I have to get my tool to get that back out. But that just kind of keeps you from pushing it in too far. Maybe I will. We'll see. Hang on. Alright, YouTube, I decided I was going to have to make these little stops here. And the reason is, that's what actually locks the quick release fuel lines, or quick lock, or spring lock they call them. That's what the spring actually locks into. That one, the 3/8 that I've already made, was easy to make. Made it out of some of this 1/2 inch tubing. Cut the old one. I checked the old one and it was 1/2 inch. I don't know where that is. I got a mess on this bench. I'm not going to hunt it down. But then basically all I did was cut me off a short piece, put it in my V-block. I'm making my other one right now. And put it in my V-block like this one is, and I drilled my it was a 3/8 hole. Actually, I reamed it out. It was already opened up close, and I used this old valve guide reamer, and it made a perfect slip fit. That's how I made my sleeves to solder my lines together too. But I've already opened this hole up to just under 5/16. Now I'm going to get me an end mill and clean that up. I had to indicate this in. I'll show you a little bit of that. Stay tuned. Alright, we'll see how that fits. I need to blow that off. Still a little bit tight. I'm just going to move this in. Oops, I didn't want to move that. My lock isn't down for my dial. I'm just going to move it in just 5 thousandths. Take a little more out of it. It doesn't have to be perfectly round. As long as it slides over. That's all that matters. Just showing this, give you a little idea how I got to make some stuff. I haven't videoed a lot of the stuff I did in this little particular project, but it's been an aggravating job to fix. Wasn't sure how I wanted to go about doing it, and yeah, a lot of stuff I thought would work didn't go the way I wanted to. Alright, see how it fits now. It's a little better. Can hardly get it out. And I'll end up slipping and cutting myself. There it goes. And let's move it in 5 the other way, which is what we machinists call move it in the X. Side to side is the X. To you and from you is the Y. Like I said, this isn't a very accurate way to open up a hole, but like I said, all this has to do is slide over that tube. There we go. That's the kind of fit I was looking for. Not super loose, but it will slide in there. Okay, I'm going to show you how I'm going to cut it off. Okay, I'm going to show you how I'm going to cut it off. First of all, here's how I figured out how thick it's got to be. That is about 62.5 thousandths, which is the 16th. I need to grab my safety glasses here real quick, wherever I lay them. First thing I'm going to do is drop my piece and drop it everything. I'm getting kind of tired of fooling with this thing, and I'm anxious to get this done. I am almost finished. Like I mentioned before, I've been fighting this thing all weekend, trying to figure out a good way to do it, and a few ways that I tried did not work. So I'm kind of tired of fooling with it, so I'm getting in a hurry and all that crap. I also need to replace this leaky clear cup. Now, what I'm going to do, try not to be in your way here, where you can see, in the camera's way that is. I'm going to go ahead and face off this edge, side of the cutter. That way it's good and flat. And what I'm going to do now is, take the camera off the tripod here. Okay, it's kind of crowded back here. I can't move my Trino out of the way because of the headers rusted off, and I did start that project, and as you know, I never got to finish it, so I can't move the Trino. It has no exhaust. No headers or manifolds or nothing on it. Okay, we'll set that on 0. First thing I want to do is, the cutter is 5/16 diameter, which is 312 thousandths. There's 100, 200, 310, and about 11, 12 and a half. It doesn't have to be that close, but I did it anyway. It'll lock the table down. And now, table, don't worry, I did not move the table, I just moved the dial there. Now we're going to set this on 0. This is hard to do one-handed, it takes 2 hands. Now, we move it 62.5 thousandths. 10, 20, 30, 40. And we'll go 65, just for good measure. And we'll put this back on the tripod. And I'll just cut this thing off like this. Touch off. I could have used a smaller end mill, be less metal to cut, but smaller end mill can't take off as much either, so actually I need some air, some oil on this. And we just feed it down, go across. Feed it down a little more, go across, just back and forth. This way we know it takes all the guesswork on how thick you're getting. I did the other one a different way. That's because it was a thin piece of tubing. Probably it'd have been easier if I'd done this way too. Done it this way too. Actually, I planned to get a lot more than this done to the truck. I didn't know this was going to be such a hassle to repair. And I still won't know for sure until I get my rubber seals in. Look it up and start up the truck, make sure no fluid squirts out of it, or diesel fuel. I think it's going to be good. I did kind of a redneck pressure check job. Sprayed a little Windex on it. Plug one end of the steel tubing with my finger and blew air into it. No air came out of the seam, so should be good. That's about to fall off. Let's hope it don't go flying somewhere. That little bitty thing. It'll be hard to find if it hit the floor. The strips are hot. There it goes. It fell down there. That's good. This thing's still a little warm, and oh, yes it is. You hook it on this, and if you can see it, there's your spacer. I need to knock that edge off of it, that burr off, before I use it, of course. I gotta wait for it to cool down now, though. Alright, there it is, all finished up, except for painting it. Little stops work good. I took this over to the truck, which I parked outside, and tried the 5/16, and it locked in the spring lock line locks on it real nice. It's a good tight fit where the seals go over the new line and all that. But that part didn't turn out too bad. After all the trouble I went through, I was beginning to think if maybe the $319 unit from Ford might have been worth the money. I don't know. But you know what? I kind of like fooling with stuff like this and trying to figure out crazy ways to fix stuff that most people would throw away. And we don't know for sure if it seals up yet. I'm pretty sure it does from the way I tested it. Pretty sure it will. And this one here, it fits so tight I almost didn't have to solder it. And I did get a little bit of, you can't hardly see it now, but I did get a little bit too much buildup of solder. You don't want that on these stops right here because that does affect the way your spring and your hose will lock onto this. It's got to go behind it and then snap down it. But if you get too much solder, it's lead. You can take a square file like this. This is a threading file actually. It's for cleaning out boats, the threads on a boat. But you can just take it like that and just clean that lead out. That lead's soft. It comes out easy. Basically, it's supposed to be lead-free solder, but basically that stuff is soft. It's about like lead, so. But yeah, it's a little sloppy down here, but it looks like I think it's going to seal. It's in there good and tight. I put pretty good force on it, and it acts like it don't want to move now that it's set up. But I guess that's all we're going to get done for this weekend. I thought I'd get a lot more done, but that's the way it goes. This was not as easy of a repair as I thought it would be. Honestly, I wasn't sure how it was going to turn out, but let's see, we got some bare wires exposed here. I'm going to get some liquid tape, fix that. I'll pick that up on the way home tomorrow. But other than painting it and putting the switch and float and everything back on it, I think we're done. I think I'm going to call this a video. Thanks for watching, and hopefully this might help somebody who has a similar problem and either can't find their part or don't want to pay that much money for it. In my case, it was a little bit of both. I haven't called Ford and priced one through them. I seen a couple Ford websites listed. They didn't show a picture, so I wasn't 100% sure if it was the right one or not. There's several genuine Ford websites where you can get Motorcraft and OEM parts. But anyway, we're going to try this one. If it works, we're keeping it. So thanks for watching. Thanks to my new subscribers. We're up to like 72 subscribers, I think. Really appreciate that. And, oh yeah, my first Google AdSense check is going to be on its way. August 31st, they're going to cut me my first check. I reached the threshold on the amount of money where they send you your first check. It's $100 threshold's all it is, but hey, you know, it's a start. And let's see, what else did I do this weekend? I made so many videos and then deleted them because things didn't go the way I wanted. I kind of forgot what all included, but we did run up to Harbor Freight, bought us a few new goodies. We had to get some new tubing benders because I broke my old ones. They're cheap ones, they'll probably break easy too. Bought me this little disc sander, which came in handy for deburring stuff on this job. A lot better than that pedestal grinding wheel. 129 bucks. That's a decent little sander for that. Bought me a brake bleeding tool, which I did not get to use yet, but I'm going to need to use. We'll show that in our next video. But yeah, we did a lot of running around this weekend and didn't get a whole lot done, but at least we accomplished one thing. So, like I said before, thanks for watching, thanks for subscribing, and that's it.